There is something sitting inside your home right now. Maybe it rests quietly on your kitchen counter. Maybe it is hidden in a drawer you rarely open. Maybe it hangs silently on a wall you pass every day without thinking about it. Whatever form it takes, it may be quietly draining your wealth and pushing opportunity further away from your life. You cannot hear it working. You cannot see it happening. Yet day after day, its presence slowly shifts the direction of your life. And for centuries, Jewish mothers have understood this in a way most people in the modern world have forgotten. They protected their homes from certain influences the same way a lioness protects her cubs. Their homes were not just places to sleep and eat. They were sacred environments that shaped the destiny of everyone inside them. Let me ask you something and answer honestly in your own mind. Have you ever worked so hard that your entire body ached? Have you pushed yourself day after day until your mind felt completely exhausted? Maybe your hands were rough from effort, your eyes tired from late nights, and your thoughts filled with plans about how to move forward. Yet when the end of the month arrived, the numbers still did not add up. The bills continued growing. The savings barely moved. Opportunities that once seemed within reach slipped through your fingers like water running through an open hand. You might have looked around and noticed other people advancing in life. Some of them did not seem to work any harder than you. Some even appeared less disciplined. Yet somehow they continued moving forward while you remained stuck in the same place, running the same cycle year after year. If that feeling sounds familiar, understand something important. It is not necessarily because you are lazy. It is not simply because you were unlucky. It is not because you were forgotten by heaven or overlooked by fate. Sometimes the obstacle is far closer than we realize. Sometimes it lives inside our own homes, woven quietly into the environment where we spend most of our lives. In Jewish tradition, the home is not considered an ordinary place. It is seen as something much deeper, a miniature sanctuary where spiritual forces gather and shape the lives of the people inside. What enters that space matters. What remains there matters. The energy created within those walls influences livelihood, stability, and the sense of abundance or struggle that follows a family for generations. Jewish families have endured exile, migration, poverty, and persecution across thousands of years. They lived in dozens of countries and faced circumstances that could have erased them completely. Yet generation after generation they rebuilt. They created businesses, communities, and wealth even after devastating losses. Intelligence and hard work certainly played a role, but there was also something quieter guiding those families. Inside their homes were women who understood how to create an atmosphere that welcomed blessing rather than pushing it away. Jewish mothers carried wisdom passed down through centuries, wisdom about how a household could become a vessel that attracted prosperity, stability, and peace. One of the first things they guarded against was the presence of broken things that remained broken. At first, this might sound like a simple matter of cleanliness or organization, but the idea runs much deeper than that. Think about a home where small damages are ignored. A clock on the wall stopped working years ago, but still hangs there. A chair wobbles every time someone sits on it. A faucet drips day and night without being repaired. A drawer sticks halfway open and never quite closes properly. Individually, these things seem small, almost meaningless, yet collectively they create an environment where dysfunction becomes normal. When broken things remain broken, they quietly teach everyone in the house that imperfection is acceptable, that problems can be ignored, that incomplete situations are simply part of life. Wise mothers understood that this attitude slowly spreads into every corner of a person's thinking. 1. A cracked cup left on the shelf becomes a symbol of tolerated neglect. A door that never closes properly becomes a reminder that details do not matter. Over time, that mentality begins shaping the ambitions of the people living there. Standards lower without anyone noticing. The home gradually stops feeling like a place of strength and begins feeling like a place where energy leaks away. Instead of a vessel capable of holding opportunity, it becomes a container filled with tiny fractures. There is a deeper symbolic truth hidden in this idea. When something in your environment is broken and you leave it that way, you unconsciously signal that brokenness is acceptable in your life. You train your mind to live with flaws rather than correcting them. The physical object becomes a reflection of your internal standard. When families removed broken items immediately or repaired them quickly, they were not being obsessive or perfectionistic. They were protecting the psychological and spiritual quality of their space. 8. They were saying that their home was a place where things functioned, where energy moved forward, where decay did not settle in unnoticed. Imagine walking through your own home with fresh eyes. Notice the objects you stopped seeing because they have been there so long. The lamp that flickers occasionally. The appliance that only works half the time. The drawer full of damaged items you plan to fix someday. Each of those objects quietly shapes your environment. Repairing them or letting them go is more than a practical act. It is a declaration that your home is a place where things are cared for, completed, and respected. When the physical space becomes whole again, the mindset inside it begins to change as well. So, the second influence Jewish mothers guarded carefully was the atmosphere created by words. Every household develops its own pattern of conversation. In some homes, the tone is hopeful and determined. In others, the tone becomes dominated by complaint. Not honest discussion about problems, but the constant repetition of frustration. Conversations revolve around what is unfair, what is lacking, what others have that the family does not. Over time, those discussions become the soundtrack of daily life. Imagine a dinner table where every evening includes the same pattern. One person complains about work. Another talks about rising expenses. Someone compares their situation to a neighbor who seems more successful. None of these statements are necessarily false, yet when repeated endlessly, they shape the emotional climate of the home. Children sitting at that table absorb every word. Without realizing it, they learn that the world is hostile, that success belongs to other people, that struggle is permanent. The words spoken by adults slowly become the beliefs guiding the next generation. Now imagine a different home facing the same financial pressure. Instead of endless complaint, conversations shift towards solutions. Difficulties are acknowledged honestly, but they are followed by determination. Instead of repeating what is missing, the family discusses what can be done with what they have. Gratitude appears alongside struggle. Ideas replace blame. The same circumstances exist, yet the atmosphere feels completely different. The minds growing inside that home develop resilience rather than defeat, carries tremendous power. Words repeated daily become beliefs, and beliefs shape decisions. When negative speech fills a home, it slowly narrows the imagination of everyone who hears it. Possibilities shrink, confidence fades, but when gratitude and constructive thinking become the dominant language, something else grows. People begin looking for opportunities instead of barriers. Their minds remain open to change. The difference may appear subtle at first, yet over time it creates entirely different life paths. Guarding the speech of a household does not mean ignoring hardship. Real problems deserve real discussion. The difference lies in the direction those discussions take. Complaints that circle endlessly around frustration lead nowhere, but conversations that acknowledge difficulty while seeking action transform the environment. They turn the home into a place where challenges are confronted rather than surrendered to. The third influence that wise mothers avoided was money hidden away in fear. Saving money wisely is responsible and necessary. Every strong household prepares for the future. But there is a crucial difference between thoughtful saving and fearful hoarding. Saving involves planning, investing, and allowing resources to grow. Hoarding comes from anxiety, the constant fear that everything could disappear at any moment. When fear dominates financial thinking, money becomes something people grip tightly rather than use wisely. They hide it, guard it, and refuse to let it circulate. Opportunities that require risk are avoided entirely. Generosity becomes uncomfortable. Instead of acting as a tool for growth, money becomes a symbol of security that must never be touched. Ironically, this mindset often prevents prosperity from expanding. Opportunities require movement, cooperation, and courage. When fear locks resources in place, growth slows or stops completely. Money, like energy, thrives when it moves through purposeful channels. It supports families, builds businesses, and helps communities when it flows responsibly. But when fear traps it in hiding places, the household begins operating from a mindset of scarcity. Every decision becomes defensive rather than creative. Children raised in that environment learn to fear loss more than they value opportunity. Their lives become shaped by caution rather than possibility. responsibility. Teaching a family to treat money with balance creates a healthier relationship with wealth. Saving responsibly provides stability. Investing wisely encourages growth. Giving generously strengthens connection with others. When these elements exist together, money becomes part of a living system rather than a frozen asset guarded by anxiety. Families who practice this balance often found that prosperity grew naturally because their resources were allowed to serve a purpose rather than sit motionless. The final influence, and perhaps the most powerful of all, involves the relationships between the people living inside the home. Every family experiences disagreements. Differences of opinion are natural and sometimes even necessary, but unresolved conflict creates something far more damaging than a simple argument. It creates emotional distance that lingers long after the conversation ends. Imagine a home where tension quietly fills the air. A couple stops discussing an issue because neither wants to continue the argument. A parent and child carry resentment without speaking about it. Siblings avoid each other rather than addressing their frustration. Nothing is openly explosive, yet the atmosphere feels heavy. Meals become quiet. Conversations grow shorter. Everyone senses the discomfort, but no one wants to reopen the subject. Over time, that silent tension spreads into every part of life. Energy that could have been used for creativity or growth becomes trapped in emotional barriers. When people inside the home are divided, the space itself begins to feel fractured. The household stops functioning as a unified environment and becomes a collection of individuals protecting their own feelings. Resolving conflict requires humility and courage. It means listening when it would be easier to defend. It means admitting mistakes and seeking understanding rather than victory. Yet the effort transforms the entire atmosphere of a home. When people clear away resentment and restore trust, the space becomes lighter again. Conversations flow naturally. Cooperation returns. The household once again feels like a place of safety rather than tension. Peace within a home is not simply an emotional luxury. It is the foundation that allows every other area of life to flourish. When relationships remain strong, families support each other through challenges. When unity disappears, even small difficulties feel overwhelming. Protecting harmony requires constant attention, but its rewards shape the future of everyone who lives there. All four of these influences are connected by a deeper principle. Broken objects reflect neglect. Constant complaint reflects a mindset of scarcity. Fearful hoarding reflects distrust in the future. Unresolved conflict reflects division among the people sharing the space. Each one weakens the environment that should be supporting the family living there. When these patterns accumulate, the home stops functioning as a place of strength and begins quietly draining the energy of those inside it. But when those influences are removed, something remarkable happens. The environment changes. Broken items are repaired or released. Conversations become constructive. Money moves with purpose rather than fear. Relationships regain their peace. Slowly, the home begins to feel different. It becomes a place where ambition grows naturally, where gratitude replaces frustration, where cooperation replaces tension. A household like that becomes more than a building. It becomes a living space where people feel capable of creating something meaningful. Children raised there develop confidence rather than doubt. Adults living there feel supported rather than drained. Opportunity seems easier to recognize because the atmosphere encourages forward movement rather than quiet resistance. Perhaps the most important truth to remember is that none of these changes require wealth to begin. They start with attention and intention. Anyone can repair what is broken, change the tone of conversation, approach money with balance, and restore peace where conflict has lingered. These actions reshape the environment one decision at a time. When a home becomes a place of order, gratitude, trust, and harmony, it begins reflecting those qualities back into the lives of the people who live there. The atmosphere supports their goals instead of quietly working against them. Over time, that difference influences careers, relationships, and opportunities in ways that may seem almost mysterious from the outside. Yet the foundation of that change begins inside the walls of the home itself, where the smallest details quietly shape the direction of an entire life.